Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and we're starting our weekly webinar, Mapping Our Week Ahead. Special welcome to new people, and just a few words about what we do here in a simple way, simple explanation that we're trying to make a plan for the week. And as I like to say and quote some traders when they say, you plan your trade, and then you trade your plan. And in general, when we spend a little bit of time of planning and organizing our future actions, it creates more order and possible better results. So I think that's very, very important to know what you're doing ahead of time. My name is Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. Soon, I think we're almost in June, will be 24 years since I had the privilege to enter the Wall Street as a trader, as a prop trader. And I did it for about 11 years, intense prop trading. And after that, I moved into, I guess, a less stressful environment of trading. And I started to mentor and educate other traders. And currently, I'm very happy that I have an opportunity to assist our customers at AvaTrade. Agenda of the webinar. Very simple, pretty much the same thing we do every week. We talk a little bit about fundamentals. We talk a little bit about economic calendar, a general idea of the markets, and then we take a look at indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex, trying to make sense technically what's happening. And that's what we do. Risk warning. You can find the full statement at avatrade.com. And of course, everything we do here, it's purely educational. We do not suggest any trades. Social media channels. You have Telegram, you have X, which used to be Twitter, and a YouTube channel, which is my favorite. You have a lot of information there, daily updates, daily uploads. And if you are watching this on YouTube, of course, please don't forget to click on likes if you like it. Share with your friends if you think it's beneficial. And also, please write your comments. I don't see a lot of comments there. And also, I see a lot of views, but not many likes. So if you do like it, it takes a second or a split second to click on that like. So I guess YouTube will be showing it to more people. More people will be able to benefit from this, right? Okay, so we finished a week, intense week, and we're entering the summer. And just before I forget to mention it, Monday, the US markets are closed. It's a Memorial Day, and besides all the important meaning of it, it's actually an official slash unofficial entry into the summer. So this is the first weekend, long weekend of the summer, when families get together, do barbecues, and they start the summer pretty much. So no market in the US on Monday. Now, I'll show you this picture. It's a little bit weird. Again, this is from marketwatch.com. And it's a nice article. It talks about, I think this is the key message here. Investors appear more sensitive to rate cut timing as earnings season winds down. So we had the opposite scenario until now. It was all about excitement about the earnings. The earnings were coming pretty strong, and market kind of was okay and settled down with all the fears on the interest rates and so on. Now we have a flip scenario as we're almost finished with earnings season. And of course, Wednesday, the key point was the earnings of NVIDIA, which crashed all the high expectation. They had tremendous results, tremendous plans for the future, very, very strong. So basically what happened, we had FOMC minutes on Wednesday, as you know, and based on the report, some of the members actually considering or not totally eliminating the possibility of the hikes of the interest rate, which is kind of off the table since the last press conference of Mr. Powell. So that spooked the market, went down, and then when NVIDIA reported after the market on Wednesday, we ran up. And then interesting thing happened. We'll take a look at the charts later, and we'll try to see what happened later. So again, focus to the Feds. According to Where is this? Okay, I just prepared a slide here and we'll read it together. Goldman Sachs economists now predict the Federal Reserve will cut interest rate in September rather than July. It's a recalibration that matches the broader view and reflects the challenge of nailing down the timing. In a note on Friday, the bank's team of economists led by Jan Hatzius said that this week's speech from Fed officials suggests that July cut would require both slowdown in inflation and meaningful softness in labor markets. This does not look like the most likely outcome, Hatzius wrote. The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits fell last week and has remained historically low. Goldman changing its forecast of July rate cuts shouldn't come as a shock. Fed Governor Christopher Waller effectively ruled out the possibility of summer cut in his speech this week, and so did Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester. So I think that's the reason the markets really was selling towards the end of the week. And then Friday, as we entered, or before entering the long weekend, actually was the slowest or the lowest volume on the market for the year. So that's understandable. Everybody's kind of waiting to get away. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of traders just stopped trading and so on. So a few statistics for the week. Dow Jones is the losing out of three pretty much. I finished the week down 2.3%. And of course, NVIDIA didn't help it, as NVIDIA is not the member of Dow Jones. Speaking for which, soon NVIDIA is going to have that split. So the price, based on today's price, is going to be around $100. I don't know what we're going to get when the split happens. But there's some rumors that NVIDIA could be suitable for entering Dow Jones. As of now, of course, it's not there. So Dow Jones was down 2.3% for the week. And for the year, statistics for the year, Dow Jones is only up 3.7%, and S&P is up 11.2% for the year, and Nasdaq is up 12.7% for the year. And we are in the end of May, towards the end of second quarter. Strong results besides the Dow Jones. Okay, so again, we speak a lot about it, but focus kind of again switch back to the Fed's actions and plans as far as the interest rate scenarios. Okay. Economic calendar, a few words, especially for new people. This is public information. You can find economic calendar on our web trader or the mobile app. And of course, there are other sources. You can find it, but you can just Google it. It's all public information coming from the same source, and you can know about this ahead of time. So here, what I do, I just mark high impact events. There's so much more. You can filter through them. You can choose what applies to your trading. So let's just go through it and try to see what's waiting for us in an upcoming trading week. Again, we have Memorial Day on Monday. The US markets are remaining closed till Tuesday. So long weekend. Monday, very important, Bank of Japan governor speech. And of course, it's all about what's next with yen, what's next with interest rates. We'll try to pay attention to that. As I mentioned to you last week, I think his last speech, I was trying to find in English, I couldn't. So maybe this one will be caught, but definitely after the fact, we'll be able to probably get the results or the idea of his speech. And a lot of pressure on Bank of Japan, like I mentioned. Yen is at super low levels, which is hurting the countries on all the imports that they're buying from abroad. And definitely since the last action, when they finally, after 17 years, increased it to 0%. And we had some interventions that tried to move yen higher. Some analysts are thinking that Bank of Japan should or might take further actions in increasing the interest rate to bring the yen to higher levels. Okay, so that's Bank of Japan governor speech on Monday. Tuesday, retail sales from Australia and the chairman of Swiss National Bank speaking. Wednesday, CPI numbers from Australia and Germany. Thursday, another speech by governor. Speak a lot this week, looks like it. New Zealand budget release, GDP numbers from Switzerland. This is the preliminary number from GDP from first quarter from US. Governor of Bank of New Zealand speaking on Thursday as well. We have CPI numbers a few days after the speech of the governor, and that's on Thursday from Japan. Friday, important numbers from China. China is in focus on its way to recovery, possibly. So manufacturing PMI numbers coming out, retail sales from Germany, CPI numbers from Europe, definitely. European Central Bank is watching, similar to the US colleagues, they're watching the CPI numbers in their future decisions on interest rate. GDP numbers from Canada, and this is the culmination of the week, which is super important number for the Feds to watch. It's the personal consumption expenditure, another inflational number, and it's coming on Friday, and that completes the week. Again, there's so much more here. What I take just high impact events. All right. Okay. Let's move to the trading platform. And again, just to refresh our memory, what we said, FOMC on Wednesday, initially the market moved down, and then with NVIDIA, we recovered towards the end of the session. Then Thursday, we moved higher, and then the market sold. So Thursday, they totally disregarded NVIDIA's number, and the market just sold, and that actually brings a lot of concern among traders. As I said in the beginning, that refocusing back to the interest rates and possibility of interest rate cuts, and there's another option on the table, that possible increase if the numbers or if inflation doesn't give up easily. So that's on Thursday and Friday. And let's take a look. This is the Dow Jones, as you could see, after breaking the 40,000 that we spoke about, we did move lower significantly, and a lot of participants, a lot of stocks within the Dow Jones actually had to sell off. There's one of them in particular I want to mention when we get to the stocks. That's Johnson & Johnson. I'll share with you in a moment what's the story there. At the same time, we are pretty much at the super low levels on VIX. We are below 12. So if you take that market trying to go into correction mode here, and the VIX at the low levels, we could see the upcoming week some triggers and maybe moves down on the market. Again, the opposite scenario could happen as well, but a lot of stocks are experiencing some downside pressure. So let's just go through indices before moving to stocks. China also, after a nice move to the upside, that's reflecting the attempts and measures that the government is taking to revive the economy. We had a nice move, but the whole week we're actually moving lower, and we're on the way to retest the current levels around 12,500. That's the key level, as we mentioned many times. It looks like we're on the way to retest that. We spoke about Dow Jones. Pretty much the whole week moved down. We're sitting right on the 50 and 100 moving average there. S&Ps, after making the all-time high on Thursday on that NVIDIA move, there was a spike. Let's see the hourly chart. We'll probably see it. You see, there's a move up. and then a strong move to the downside on S&Ps. Nasdaq, same thing. We captured the brand new high, and then we sold, erasing the previous couple of days of advanced move. And Friday was a move up again. European indices also giving up a little bit on the current gains. That's the German index. After establishing the all-time high, we've been selling this week, and Friday a little bit of recovery. And the UK FTSE as well, after making a very nice move to the upside. We finished the week in red, significant move to the downside. So across the board, as you could see, the equity indices are showing a little bit of a correction. European indices show more. US indices had a little bit of recovery on Friday, but the volume, as we mentioned, New York Stock Exchange had the lowest volume of the year, and we are facing the long weekend. So we're getting back to actions in on Tuesday, pretty much. So that's as far as indices. Let's move to stocks. And I'm going to start with Johnson & Johnson, actually. Take a look. The stock is moving down. And I tried to find out what's the story there. And apparently, there's a group of cancer victims that are filing the lawsuit against Johnson & Johnson. And they're actually accusing the company of committing fraud through its persistent, I'm quoting here, through its persistent efforts to use a shell company's bankruptcy to resolve numerous lawsuits. So in a simple way, it's kind of funny. You would think that Johnson & Johnson, big corporation like that, wouldn't do anything shady. But apparently they are accusing the company that instead of settling their lawsuits with the victims, they actually, what they did, they created those offshore shell companies, and then they bankrupt them, so they wouldn't be able, or they would show not being able to pay those claims. It's kind of weird. But it's all over the news. You can read it more details, but the stock was affected strongly. We were at 154 on May 17th, and we are at 146, 147 on the close on Friday. So that's as far as Johnson & Johnson, and it had a strong effect on Dow Jones as well, besides other stocks. Now, let's take a look at NVIDIA. As you could see, NVIDIA is just flying. But what's interesting, this is the Thursday, the 23rd. The high was 1,062.61, and the high here was 162.25. So on Friday, we continue higher. We didn't break the Thursday's high. So of course, we can speculate there that maybe this is at least at the top for now. We will go into correction. Everything is possible. We could just fly because the results were so strong that in a positive way shocked a lot of analysts. They didn't expect such a huge increase in earnings and everything else, and the projections for the future as well. So we might continue higher. At the same time, one of the scenarios, we could actually have a correction and trying to close the gap as well. Everything is possible. Definitely, we'll be watching NVIDIA stock for continuation. Again, we're back on Tuesday in the full-time trading. Another one that caught my attention is Charles Schwab, the Schwab stock. You know, the question, what came first, the egg or the chicken? I was trying to see what this move is, and I saw one of the analysts of one of the banks set up a price target 72. I don't know, did they set it up after the move, or the prediction came before the move? But we are right at 72, and a lot of actions are around this level. That's what the recent move up started after a lot of fights. So it's worth watching Schwab as well. And if we are already at the banks, let's take a look at most of them. We had a sell-off on JP Morgan on the 20th, and we tried to recover there. Goldman also, after making these highs here around 471, also going into a little bit of correction. So the bank sector, it's sensitive to what the Feds are going to be doing. So if we are back to refocusing on the Feds and some fear of interest rate cuts coming later than expected, so we might see some moves on the banks possible upcoming weeks. So we'll be watching the bank sector for sure. Now, another thing, let's just go through the big boys really quick, see what they do. So Microsoft, also very sensitive to AI business, has been super strong. Thursday sell-off, Friday recovery, about half of that Thursday sell-off. We are close to the highs. Meta, actually strong. We are on the way, but we're far from the all-time highs, of course. So it had a nice recovery on Friday, erasing pretty much the whole week redness, if you can use that word. Netflix, super strong, trying to break through this 649, 650 to the upside. Apple, it was on the way to recovery. We were above 190, and then Wednesday and Thursday especially was a sell-off there, hitting again 186 level there. Amazon, it's slowly bleeding lower there after hitting 191. And let's take a look at Tesla, what Tesla is doing. Again, Tesla is very hard to make sense of the stock. It's definitely weak, and it has this unexpected moves when the shareholders are getting excited, and then we are selling again. So Friday, it did with the market. It went with the market. Thursday sell-off, Friday a little bit of recovery. So we're at 179. There's again, I don't know if I mentioned this webinar or the other one, but there's an attempt to convince the shareholders for the next meeting to disapprove the 56 billion pay and so on. So a lot of attention are to that outcome. So that's Tesla. Now, oil had moved up on Friday. So let's take a quick look on Exxon and Chevron. They've been selling since the oil was weak. And here we are. We might see some moves to the upside. Let's just take a quick look at oil. We're moving there anyway. So here's the oil. If you remember, I mentioned that some traders would consider that a head and shoulders with a possible move lower. There's a possibility to that. We had the whole week sell-off on oil, and then Friday we had the nice move to the upside. What's the range there from 76.14 to 78.02, almost $2 range on the day. So definitely we'll be watching crude. Now, metals had a sell-off this past week. Gold sold pretty much 3 consecutive days with the intense sell-off on Wednesday and Thursday. So I guess this was the Fed's FOMC thing, and then continuation down to the downside, and we are around 50-day moving average right here. Okay, that's on gold. Copper as well, after making a great move to the upside, as we mentioned. There's a high demand on copper and not such a great supply, it looks like it. So we had a nice move, and then this past week, especially on Wednesday, there was a sell-off, and Thursday and Friday will continue into red, closing at 475 after visiting the highs of 519. So that's copper. Natural gas also had a nice correction here after making a very nice move since around 194 all the way to almost 3. We had the high of 292 on Thursday before the sell-off, and Friday we continued. So we still are above 200 moving average here. If we continue lower, we might have potential support around the 200 moving average here. Now, cocoa had a nice bounce to the upside after the recent sell-off. It looks like we held this around 7,000 with the spikes up and down. Thursday was a nice move up, hitting 8,400 almost. And then Friday, where the spikes up and down, finishing in red, but still in the upper part of that Thursday's move. Looks kind of bullish. It's hard to say anything again, especially for new people. This whole move up in cocoa was created by a tremendous a lack of supply. West Africa experienced some issues due to weather and everything else. So the supply was super low, and concern was super high, and the price went up. Just to give you an idea, from January we were at around 4,000, 4,100, went all the way to 11,700. Huge move in cocoa, and we did have a nice correction. You know, let's just use Fibonacci just to see where we are. Okay, so we recovered. We had the recovery of. Take a look. Some people say Fibonacci works sometimes. Take a look. We stopped right at 61.8%. Interesting, and we bounced from there. We had 1, 2, 3 attempts, triple bottom, and bounce to the upside. So some technical traders would really watch the level of 38% now, which would be around 8,800. So if we are moving higher, we are above 50% now. If we are moving higher, according to some technical analysts, we might have a resistance around 38%. All right, let's just draw this line here, just for fun. Okay. Okay, so that's cocoa. The grains, let's take a quick look at them. They had a recent high, a recent move to the upside, strong one. Wheat been moving up. It moved higher from the previous resistance around 649. And we are holding to that gain. Looks very strong. Let's see how this week will play for it. Corn and soybeans, if you remember, they were in play due to some tax credits to do with aviation fuel made from corn and soybeans. So we did have a nice move, correction, and now we are right between the 100 and the 200 moving average here on corn. And soybeans looks very nice here. We had the initial move up, correction, and now we are trying to break through that level, and we're facing the 200 moving average here. So let's see if we manage to move higher from here. If you look in the weekly chart, it looks very interesting here. If we do break out of this resistance here, we're opening a space for continuation to the upside. Of course, the resistance could be strong and we reverse right down. Of course, the opposite scenario is possible as well. So we'll continue watching those, corn, soybeans, and wheat on possible move higher from here. Okay, moving to Forex, we'll start with dollar index, of course. As you could see here, we did have a strong resistance around 105.80, and that's the weekly chart. So on the daily chart, the whole week we're climbing slowly to that level, 104.80, and then Friday we broke through. We broke below 50-day moving average, and it looks like 105 here was a resistance. So on Thursday we hit 105.02, and Friday 105.03. Okay, just by the fracture of the penny, we hit that level and then we sold. Okay, so we'll see what this week brings. Again, it's a short week in equity, US equity markets, and Forex should be trading regularly. Euro dollar, the mirror image of the dollar index, of course. All week we're going lower, and Friday we bounced to the upside. Pound is showing a lot of strength. If you remember, we mentioned this channel 126, 128, and last time we spoke, we were right in between 127. We held that level. There was no sell-off, unlike in euro, and we are moving higher. We closed at 127.36. If we do continue higher, that around 128, we might experience strong resistance there. And in order for it to run, of course, we would need to break that 128 and start establishing some price actions above it as a support. So far, we're still within this channel. Dollar yen is in focus, as we mentioned this week. There's a speech of the governor of Bank of Japan. As you could see here, we were climbing, dollar was climbing against the yen, and then one day, I think that was the intervention, if I'm not mistaken. And then we continued higher. Again, we're not at the all-time highs, but it looks very strong. The yen continues to look weak. And if we're already at the yen, let's see the other pairs. Swiss yen is pretty much trading the same level all week. Aussie was selling most of the week against the yen on Friday. That was a bounce to the upside. Canadian is regaining the strength. As I mentioned, the oil had a nice move on Friday. So Canadian dollar is very sensitive to the oil prices. As you could see, it had a nice bounce to the upside. Euro yen as well looks strong. Pound yen strong on the way to this recent spike to the upside. And New Zealand dollar looks very strong against the yen. But what's the catch here? See, the spikes are pretty much in the same level. So this is something important to see. So the high here on the 22nd was 96.10, 96.11, and 96.14. So this current highs looks like we're having a hard time breaking it around 96.12. So again, this week there's a speech. We might hear something new. We might see some significant moves in yen, and it's definitely worth watching. So on Canadian dollar, again, it shows strength against all the currencies. Dollar CAD had a strong sell-off here, and let's take a look at others. With CAD, Aussie CAD continues to show weakness. Euro CAD sell-off on Friday. GBP a little bit of a sell-off on Friday. NZD strong. So it looks like two strong currencies, three actually for the past week. Pound, New Zealand dollar, and Canadian dollar. So we'll see what's next there. And Aussie is showing a lot of weakness, probably a lot to do with China, as China, just to remind us, Chinese index sold this past week. So Aussie has been showing weakness together with Chinese index. Take a look. We were doing well. This is the Aussie dollar. We had a nice move, a strong move on the 15th. And then we couldn't break higher. And the whole week we're really selling. And we went below this 0.6630 level, the one that we couldn't break before. So we back into the resistance at that level. It didn't really hold any support. We broke through it and we came right back below that level. So it remains in resistance again. So we definitely will be watching how Chinese index is doing, and we'll be seeing how Aussie is reacting to it. And again, what's the connection? Some people would ask. When looking at China or Chinese economy, there's a classic correlation between Chinese index and four instruments, which are oil, copper, and two currencies they're called commodity currencies, as they send a lot of goods to China, which is Australia and New Zealand. So Australian dollar again showed the sell-off, and New Zealand dollar didn't. That means there's a lot of strength here, and that's why I said three strong currencies for the week. That's New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar and the pound as well. So we'll continue watching them. All right. And the last one, which is important to watch, as we mentioned, we approaching that election in South Africa, which is on 29th, in 3 days' time. And take a look, the last 3 days, dollar moved high against ZAR, so that means weakness in South African rand. And as we mentioned, we were approaching this level around 18 that I mentioned that we might see some support around here, and that's what happened. The moment we broke below, the very next day, trigger moved to the upside. Of course, it's hard to predict anything as far as elections. I'm not big in politics, so I'm not going to pretend, but definitely you can feel some sensitivity as we're getting closer to elections, and I think we might see volatility into the elections and maybe even after. So that concludes the currencies, and let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. Let's see what it's doing. So after having a nice move to around 71.5 right here, quite a strong move at this on the 20th of May, and then we had the 3 days sell-off, pretty much bringing us to the bottom of this candle. And then the past few days we tried to recover. Today we're in red. We are trading currently at almost 69,000. Again, we're still above this trend line. We mentioned this trend line a few times. As we broke below, we traded below, we tested the 60,000, and then slowly we're climbing higher. And then this day brought us above, but we did reject the resistance of 71.5. And so far, we are above the trend line, which shows strength and possibility of moving higher. And of course, the opposite scenario can break below and then go and shop for supports, maybe around the moving average, which is the 50-day moving average would be the first one to test. Currently, it's about 65,000, right? 64, yeah, about 65,000. Okay, so put it all together. Short week. We're starting the summer, which also important to mention. Generally, summer it's a lower volume on the U.S. exchanges, especially the last month of summer, August, but we're far from there. So we are kind of switching now from excitement of earnings to, again, a concern about the Fed's pushing forward their decision in interest rate cuts. And so that's something that we'll be paying attention to. We have a lot of data this week, and personal expenditure data and other things. We have some central bankers speaking. We have NVIDIA pushing the Nasdaq higher, and at the same time Dow Jones is really selling. We have a lot of pressure on certain stocks. We'll be watching banks, possible moves. We'll be watching oil stocks and oil itself on possible move to the upside. Gold and other commodities had a correction to the downside. Let's see if that continues. I will go back up. A lot of things. Going to be interesting week. I want to wish everyone a good weekend. You still have time to rest. Get yourself ready for the upcoming week. It's going to be a lot of events, a lot of actions, and thank you all for participating. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, as I mentioned, please subscribe, click the likes if you like it, click the share if you would like to share, and please write your comments. It's very, very important. All the best. Take care.